Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Comment Section. This episode, another special episode. We're going to talk about something I don't think we ever thought we were going to be making a special about way back in the day, back in 2017 when the original version of this movie came out.
I never did either. This feels a little bit like deja vu.
Yeah, and here we are.
Yes.
Unbelievably to me, if I was talking to myself in the past and I was saying, today on Comment Section, we are going to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League, or colloquially often called the Snyder Cut.
Yes, and you'd be saying to yourself also, hey, it's been 4 years. How was the Justice League sequel? And then you'd have to turn and say, what sequel? And you'd be like, oh.
We got the same movie again.
We did. Also... We got an alternate cut.
Yeah. A very alternate cut.
Yes.
Definitely different. So we're going to be talking about Zack Snyder's Justice and Zack. Yeah. Warming up 1 second. Not cutting any of that. We're going to be talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League, or the Snyder Cut, which is, of course, I mean, I'll give a layman's recap in case for the completely uninitiated. In 2017, there was a movie called Justice League, part of the DC extended universe of movies. And this movie was directed by Zack Snyder, but he at one point had to leave as that position, and Joss Whedon took over and directed some other parts of the movie. It was always a little fuzzy, like which parts were Zack Snyder or which parts were Joss Whedon. I think it was obvious to a lot of people, like just watching it, and now we know a little.
There's
better,
only really one scene where I felt that, and it was because it's a scene where Barry and Bruce first meet each other, and that's because of the lighting and their hair looks different.
Yeah. But as a result, this movie was, I would say, generally not well received. The 2017 version, at least to many, to the broader audience, and it overall it left a lot of people asking, where's the Snyder Cut? People were thinking Zack Snyder had a vision for this movie, and there was so much footage shot, and then Joss Whedon took it over, and it became
4 hours worth
something
worth
else.
Shot.
So I think a lot of fans were starting to feel like, so there must be a version of this movie that's good, that the intended original, like scripted, planned version, all of that was shot, and then they came in and ruined it. I think that was kind of the feeling that a lot of people had, which is why there was this big release.
And then we heard all these myths. Only 10% of the movie was by Zack Snyder. Only of the theatrical was by Zack Snyder. Most of it was scrapped.
Apparently, like 400% of the movie was by Zack Snyder. But
yes,
we'll get into it. Honestly, I was on this podcast a little bit of a naysayer where I was just like, I just felt like there's no way that much exists, that there's this mythical entire other movie that can just be pulled out of that. I think I'm still perplexed, but I think I was pretty wrong about that. There's a lot of stuff.
Over 2 hours.
I underestimated how much they shoot when they make movies.
Yes.
So yes, this is a new cut of the movie Justice League. A director's cut.
Yes.
Unlike a lot of director's cuts where it is pretty similar, but there's like a lot of more extended scenes because there isn't like some like corporate entity saying it's got to be under this amount of time. It can't have this. It's got to be. This is a director's cut that really it takes the movie from 2 to 4 hours. So that says a lot.
It doubles
a lot. Yeah. And I think that's all you need to know to understand how this is a bit of a different director's cut than most director's cuts.
Yes.
Just doubled the size of the movie. So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So, shall we start off with what we normally do, which is, what was your introduction? So I shall turn to you and ask, what was your introduction to the Justice League?
Well, as a kid, sometimes just catching it on Cartoon Network, probably, I saw some Justice League cartoons. I was exposed to it in that way. But not much exposure in terms of specifically Justice League comics and stuff. Like, I'm familiar with all the heroes, particularly Batman. I've seen many of the movies with the characters, particularly Batman.
Yes.
So, like, I was familiar with the fact that Justice League is a group of heroes thing, and including Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. But truly, seeing Justice League 2017 really was one of the initiating things to me for the Justice League franchise. I don't have a super deep connection to Justice League. I do, like I said, some of the individual characters, but yeah. So yet again, I think you're going to have a bit more of a deeper connection.
Yes. For me, my introduction to the Justice League was watching the Super Friends cartoon on Cartoon Network. Old school style, stuff from the 70s and 80s. And then later, after Batman vs. Superman and Superman the Animated Series had ended, those versions of the characters were brought back and crossed over in Justice League, one of my favorite cartoons of all time. And that Justice League animated series, followed by its sequel, Justice League Unlimited, to me was the quintessential Justice League experience. So that made me a fan of it because of that cartoon. I bought the comics, and I just remember thinking when the Avengers came out, man, wouldn't it be cool to have a Justice League movie?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we got with lots of controversy.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for, kids.
Yep. And so that's where we are.
Yes.
And it was the first year of this podcast that Justice League came out. It was
such a throwback now.
I guess it was our second special episode.
Yes. Was our first one Spider-Man Homecoming?
I think it was, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah. And is that all with your history, or are we going to get into the actual crux of this episode?
Get into our journey with this franchise. Now, the Snyder Cut has kind of evolved into something else, because when we did our Justice League special for the theatrical cut, we looked at what is your journey into the DCEU. But this thing has kind of evolved into what other fans are calling the Snyderverse, which is the movie Zack did. So I guess I will ask you, what was your journey with Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman?
Let's see. Now, I've mentioned before, Man of Steel is, I actually don't completely know if I've seen it or not. I really
you don't know?
I think I think I have, but I sometimes question my memory of that, because
sometimes that's the best memory to have.
Yeah. Because sometimes when we're talking about it, I'm just like, that doesn't ring a bell. But
well, it is 8 years old.
Yeah, it's older than I realize, I guess. Well, not into it, not into that version of Superman. I didn't see Batman versus Superman when it was in theaters. I was fully just off board, basically just superhero movies in general. And Superman wasn't an interesting character to me. And when I eventually did see Batman versus Superman, I had the opinion of a lot of people, which is that Batman's pretty cool in this Snyderverse, if you will. I like this version of Batman. There are a lot of characters where it's I don't prefer this version of the character. I guess another would probably be Joker. I don't know. I guess Lex Luthor. I don't know. I don't. These aren't my preferred versions of a lot of these characters.
All right, now
I've been late to like all of them too.
Yes,
like I have not seen any of them in theaters except for Justice League.
Yes,
I'm talking Snyder one specifically.
Yes. All right, so I will always remember March 10th, 2010. It was when WB made an announcement, and it's one we've been hearing rumors of for a while, but it was one that I thought, all right, we'd had this great era of Marvel movies, right? We had the X-Men movies, the Spider-Man movies. We were building towards the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, DC, you have to remember, was coming off of Batman Begins, and more importantly, The Dark Knight, which at the time I was like, this is the greatest superhero movie ever made. And then we heard the announcement, Christopher Nolan is back for a third Batman movie, and he will be a producer and godfather to a Superman reboot. So I was like, yes. Dude made, at the time, the two best Batman movies ever made. Now he's going to make Superman, and it's going to be great, and then they're going to cross over. It's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we all know how The Dark Knight Rises turned out. And then, uninterested in Man of Steel after how crappy The Dark Knight Rises was. Very uninterested. Went to it kind of expecting to hate it. Even worse than I thought it would be. I did not like Man of Steel. Now I will say the first hour is all right. It's when he gets the suit and starts flying around that it really falls apart. Which is not what you want to say about Superman movie.
Yeah, I know. I was like, an hour in the suit and now it's bad. That doesn't sound like a good praise of a Superman movie.
Yeah, so I just remember being so disappointed with that movie. I even remember going to a graduation party and having it brought up how much I hated that movie. Because people saw how angry I was on Facebook. So I hated The Dark Knight Rises, hated Man of Steel. And Comic-Con 2013, we find out they're going to put Batman and Superman together. As everyone was applauding, I was like, no, it's going to be crap. It's going to be awful. No. And then, besides the fact that it was going to be our first Batman movie after The Dark Knight Rises, it was also going to be our second attempt at putting The Dark Knight Returns on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
So we had that. And then as time moved on, because it was a 3-year gap, it was supposed to come out in 2015, eventually came out in 2016. I go through these highs and lows. Like, I see one trailer, I think maybe this has a shot. See one trailer, oh, this is going to be trash. And then, for me, all that mattered was, can I just like Batman? As long as I get Batman right, we're all good. And The Dark Knight Returns, let's do that. And Batman versus Superman, the theatrical cut, well, both the versions, I would say, is a very good Batman movie, a mediocre Justice League prequel, and a bad Superman movie. All wrapped into one confusing, convoluted package.
Yeah.
So, saw the theatrical cut, enjoyed Batman. I was like, you know what? All right, Batman was good. I guess that's good enough. But And, for me, I didn't have as much pressure on it because some people were hoping that this would be, the DC's answer to the Avengers. And I was hoping for that. But for me, I'm trying to speak while trying to find a picture, and it's not working out, guys.
Yeah.
For me, I guess this will have to do. Okay. For me, I was excited. I was hoping that Batman would be good, but for me, it wasn't. This DCEU was not going to be the kind of real DC shared universe. This already was the DC television universe. So I went in not having as high of like, this needs to be great. I was like, all right, well, Batman works, and that's great. Theatrical cut, 30 minutes missing, and the story didn't make a lot of sense. Then you see the theatrical cut, and there's some really important stuff that should have been in there. Not the stupid nightmare stuff that they kept in there. Not the Batman looking at Lex Luthor's laptop stuff, but some important stuff that would have helped the story make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But whatever. I was like, you know what? Batman was good. Dark Knight, it was overall a good tribute to the Dark Knight Returns. So for me, that was overall just good enough. All right. So what was your anticipation for the Snyder Cut? We'll divide it up into a few things. What are your thoughts before the announcement and after the announcement? That was coming.
Well, I guess before, I just fully didn't think that there was gonna be anything there to even make something out of. I didn't know what was out there. After the announcement, I was thinking like, okay, I can see that maybe people were working off some information that I didn't have. I guess there is a potential to cobble together a cut like this. And so I would say like the announcement that it was actually happening, I think did change my mood at least just enough to say that like, okay, there's enough to make something out of. But I would say I was never extremely excited for this. There was nothing giving me super big expectations of like how it could be that different. I guess my attitude was just like, I'll have to just wait to develop my feelings on it until after I've seen it. I didn't have very many preconceived feelings about it because I just was like, I can't imagine what this is actually going to look like, how different it's really going to be until I see it. I don't know that it's going to change my opinion on it that much. I'm going to have to see it. And so that's what I did. I kind of had to forgo some opinions on it until I finally saw it.
All right. Now for me, before the announcement, now I really like the theatrical cut. I think it's the best movie the DCEU has ever done. So I didn't feel a need for it. But I was thinking, it'd be nice. It would have been nice to have that footage, if there is a lot of footage, on the Blu-ray, just as a bonus feature.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it won't happen because it's not the same thing, but like, we have two versions of Superman 2, and I like both of them, so it would be nice if we're not going to have a Justice League sequel to have at least another Justice League movie. So there was that. And then after the announcement, I still didn't have a need for it, but I was excited to see new footage of Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yeah.
And the final trailer, and we saw more positive reviews than I thought we would see, did get me more excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into our initial thoughts, were there any scenes from the trailers? No, you probably have not gone back to rewatch the trailers. Were there any scenes from the trailers that you remember thinking, man, I wish I could have seen that in context? Because I have like 4 scenes I wanted to see.
You mean like scenes from the trailers that
weren't in the theatrical cut?
Oh, okay, I got it. Not exactly. From the trailers, all I remember thinking was it was increasing my like. I really felt like this is seriously. You can seriously add this much and make a narrative still. Like I was. I think particularly like knowing the dark side was going to be a part of it. Like there's just like those big changes like that. And knowing how much of it wasn't going to be in it, the trailers just kind of enhanced that feeling to me. But I have only seen the theatrical cut once, so if I were to see something in the Snyder cut, in the trailers, I wouldn't know it well enough to immediately know like this is different. I'm getting this in a different context. I wouldn't be able to recognize that immediately, so I didn't get that kind of stuff from the trailers.
All right. Now, for me, the scenes from the trailers that I really wanted to see were, one was Batman telling Cyborg he's real when it's useful. Remember that? Where Cyborg's like, didn't think you were real. And Batman's like, I'm real when it's useful.
Yeah.
Diana telling Bruce she thought the Age of Heroes would never come again. Barry using his speed and breaking through that window. And Bruce looking at the Superman hologram.
Yeah.
So those are some scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's get into our initial thoughts.
Sure.
And I wish I had messaged you this earlier, but, why not just bring it on you now?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I think...
I'll improv.
Yeah.
But go for it.
I think that the only fair... It's going to come up. Comparisons between the theatrical cut and the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
I think the only really fair thing to do is to judge this movie as much on its own.
Yeah.
And try to bring them the theatrical cut as little as possible. I think that's fair to the movie. It's just, there'll be some stuff that we bring up from the theatrical cut. In fact, towards the end, we'll mention which cut do we prefer, but we're going to try and judge it by its own as its own movie, similar to what, well, I mean, you haven't seen it, but if we had seen the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. Right.
That's a fair way to look at this, to like really look at this as its own movie. So
let's not spend the whole time comparing and contrasting.
And it won't be too hard for me because I really was in a lot of ways seeing this movie again. It was my first rewatch of this story since 2017. So I'm not going to be able to compare, like, I liked this story beat better. I liked this. I'm not going to be able to do those one-on-one comparisons super well. So I'm going to be judging this watch of this movie. It happens to be this cut of the movie, but let's do that. I think I will probably do one teensy. I don't know if it counts exactly as a comparison in my initial.
Well, thoughts, I mean, it will like come up, but like we're trying to keep it to a minimum.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I guess I'll turn to you first, since you introduced the episode. What are your initial thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League, formerly known as the Snyder Cut?
All right. I will say, I'm trying to form my thoughts a little on it still, to some extent. I guess I don't know which way I'm going to end up on it. There are positives and negatives that I can say about it, definitively. I think one of my overall feelings that I just keep thinking is there has to be some happy medium between this. Or at least I should say, like, if there was this much footage and they had more time to work on it, there had to have been a way to edit this narrative down in something less than, like, the narrative was way, way more sound in this. That was a huge improvement to me. But then there was added stuff. It was like the narrative was all there, and then there was some stuff that was added that I almost thought was unnecessary to put in this movie. I don't mind it being like a 4-hour movie. I think on a streaming platform, when you can take breaks, and I did. I watched like half of it and then the other half later.
I did one night and then the rest of the other day.
Yeah. I really liked that it was separated into parts. It kind of gives you a maybe permission to say like, okay, I'll stop here. Or it makes the narrative more easy to follow too, because you're kind of seeing like, okay, here's the next arc of this. Because it's not really a 3-act structure when it's a 4-hour movie. So they had to put it into what? It was 6 parts, I think.
6 plus an epilogue.
Yeah, so kind of 7. 1 second. Okay. So overall positive or negative opinion on it, I'm still formulating. But there are just like I feel like we'll get into it more, but it was I don't mind the idea of it being so long, but there were parts that were drawn out where it didn't need to be. But they did fix a lot of issues with the narrative, and there was a lot of really cool extra footage. And I really, really liked a lot of the additions. And I'm still left perplexed in thinking about some of the other additions. But we'll get into all that. So overall, I don't know.
You're like,
yeah, basically.
Yeah, for me, I thought that overall of the 3 he's done, this was clearly Zack's best movie that he's done in the DCEU compared to Batman vs. Superman or Man of Steel.
Yeah.
He took a lot of criticisms from Batman vs. Superman and improved upon them. And I think the 2 that I would say are number 1, in BVS, the story was a bit convoluted. So much so that when you took out 30 minutes, it just fell apart. Now, it was a badly edited theatrical cut, but even in the 3-hour version, there's a lot going on in there that could have been saved for other movies. And it was a better adaptation of the characters because they don't act all like Batman. Like, Batman vs. Superman almost falls into Super Friends territory, where if you were to just read the dialogue of Super Friends, you have no idea who's talking. You have no idea, is that Batman or is that Superman or is it Wonder Woman? Versus like the Justice League animated series, if you were to just read, okay, you know that's Superman, you know that's Batman, you know that's Flash.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And compared to the other films, this one felt more hopeful. Like the other 2 are very much like the world is a horrible place and it's just going to get worse. But this one was hopeful. Yeah. And I thought that was, well, number 1, it was needed after having 2 downer movies, but it felt like it wrapped everything up nicely. And I will say overall, it's a nice addition to the DC film legacy. And more importantly, it gives closure and is a nice wrap up to the Snyder era of DC films.
Yeah. Yeah, I agreed to that as well.
Yes. So, shall we get into what worked in the film?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Positivity.
All right. Let's start with the best character in the film. Who could that be? It was Batman. That's right. So, no surprise here because he did a great job with him in Batman versus Superman. Batman was my favorite character in the movie. And I thought that it was Ben Affleck's best performance as the character. And from everything we saw from the movie, whether it's he's older, so he's more experienced, whether it's him as a leader to the Justice League, or whether it's you're talking about how he's a mentor to the Flash, this wasn't like better than The Dark Knight, but it is the best movie version of Batman that we've had since the Tim Burton era.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the way Batman was portrayed in this film?
I would hands down say Batman is my favorite part, except I'll get into one thing that I was thinking of asking about, which I'll get into in 1 second. Overall, I really love Batman in this version of Justice League, and there's some of this in the theatrical cut too. Already compared it. Whoops. No. But I like this more hopeful Batman. I like that the entire, narrative is, the first leg of the movie is him trying to gather the heroes together because he has this hopeful view on the world now. That's a
it feels earned too when you look at what he went through in BVS.
Mm-hmm. I like that. It feels like he's gotten to this position, and it's a good start to the narrative and a good pull. And I like that it's all centered around, it's centered around Batman in the sense that like he's the one pulling everyone together. He's going out firsthand, face to face, trying to find these super people.
Oh yeah, so they can become super friends.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think Batman is definitely one of my favorite parts. The thing I couldn't remember this about the theatrical cut versus this. I couldn't remember that, but just judging this on its own movie, I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly. It felt like in the climax of the movie that he wasn't there, and then after they finished, they helped him up from a hole.
Well,
what
he's in the Batmobile a lot in the climax.
Yeah, I remember he's driving around. Yeah, I do remember that. For some reason I was trying to piece together. I should have just went back and like skimmed through it for a second, but I was like, why was he being helped up from the hole? Like, I think I just sort of felt like
sure, I think of The Dark Knight Rises.
No, he was at right after the end of the climax. He was falling. He was. I almost wondered if you were going to like make a connection to it, because he was trying to stop from falling down. He had like one hand up, and they like helped him up.
Oh, wait. I think you're talking about not the climax. Are you talking about when they're in the sewers in Gotham?
No, this is
all right climbing on the bat.
This is right after they defeat Steppenwolf. And they're all together. And then I was like, wait, where's Batman? And then you realize they grab him and help him up from.
Oh, in the Snyder Cut?
Yes, in the Snyder Cut.
Okay. I think like they're in his Steppenwolf. No, they're in the nuclear facility.
Yeah, so it's the last part before the epilogue.
Yeah, I think it's because they're in this like a nuclear facility, and everyone else could just fly up, and Batman's grapple isn't.
I got it.
Enough.
So he's grappling up. For some reason, I just came out with a feeling that I wish there was more Batman in the climax of the movie. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
and I think maybe the reason I don't know, but I think maybe the reason they showed like Superman helping Batman up is to kind of show that they put their differences aside, and now
I gotcha.
They're besties because their mom's name is Martha.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good connection, man.
Did you ever see that thing that someone made? I think it's a meme or something where it's Batman, Superman giving each other jumping up in the air, giving a high five, and it says, "Your mom's name is Martha." Instant besties.
Yeah. What are the chances?
Oh man.
Yeah, I think that was something I just wanted to piece together because that was a long movie and I could not keep track of everything. I couldn't find the symbolism. I couldn't even remember that it was Superman that helped him up. I get that now. Okay.
I think a lot of it, if I remember right, he like fights an alien, takes their blaster, because remember, it's not a gun if it doesn't have bullets. But he's shooting the aliens with that gun.
Mm-hmm. And I remember some of that more now. I for some reason came away with that feeling that I was like, was Batman even in that? Like I couldn't really.
It would have been nice to have had some action like from that warehouse scene.
Yeah. I think that's what you got to see everyone else. Like it felt like the whole team was coming together, and then I was like, was Batman, like they were literally like one by one, they each had a thing with Steppenwolf. Like like as Steppenwolf was being killed, they each had like a part that they took in it, and I can't even remember what Batman's part of that was.
I don't think he did anything. Maybe there's like if you watch it, there's like a batarang that gets thrown.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But that's a bit of a nitpick, but it kind of left me with a feeling like, could they have used Batman even better in this? I don't know.
I would love even more Batman.
Yeah, I mean, me too. That's why I was like, but yeah, I guess he's the one bringing them together. And he's almost like a kind of a nurturing figure over all of them in a weird way. Yes. Which I like a lot. So to long story short, I liked Batman.
Oh, yes.
I like Batman.
Who doesn't? All right. Now, compared to the Batman versus Superman, I really liked how Snyder used Wonder Woman in a bigger role. And she had great action scenes in this movie where you're talking about she saved the hostages, or how she's the one who cuts off Steppenwolf's head.
The full hostages scene was super awesome in this.
Oh, yes.
I loved the additions to that.
Yeah, and like I think my favorite Wonder Woman moment is where she tells the little girl, "You could be anything," or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great scene.
So yeah, Wonder Woman, one of my favorite characters, in my top 3 favorite characters from the Snyder Cut. So, what are your thoughts on Wonder Woman in this movie?
I mean, great. I mean, you reminded me of a scene that definitely I would say everything about Wonder Woman and every scene with her makes her like, maybe first, second, third, somewhere up there, which I guess is what you just said, of my favorite character in it. Again, I don't know why, another feeling of like, I wish there was even more of her. But
4-hour movie, you're left wanting more.
I don't know. I guess it is just like, I feel like I wish that the balance of, well, I'll get into what I think took up too much of the runtime when I could have been getting more character stuff about Wonder Woman and Batman and stuff. But yeah, I do wish that there was more personal stuff we got with in more attentive scenes towards Wonder Woman and Batman and everyone kind of. But I'll get into why that is in a little bit. But yeah.
All right. So again, rounding up my top 3 characters was the Flash, and Snyder did a really good job with a more humorous character in the Flash, better than I thought that he would, to be honest, because he's done some darker movies.
Yeah,
and I don't want to compare, but it's just gotta be said. The jokes from the theatrical cut, we now know the best ones were actually from Snyder.
Yeah, I did. I did get often a feeling where like scenes would come and go, and I would just sort of feel like I kind of have a better feeling about that. Like it was maybe not as not as embarrassing to watch. In particular, there's something I remember not liking about the sewer scene. I think humor-wise, and that didn't happen. So, but again, it's all like it's been so long since I've seen it, but I know for sure that scene I thought was vastly improved, and the humor was more bearable. There were a lot of moments, like humor moments, I was so sure were Joss Whedon. Right. That I was, because I've seen the theatrical cut a lot, that I was like, all right, this isn't going to happen. But then, like, one example was when Barry and Bruce go to his car and Barry's eating the pizza and he says it's like a snack hole or whatever. And he says, what are your superpowers? And Bruce goes, I'm rich. Yeah. Yeah.
As long as it's good, who cares who directed that moment?
Yeah. Yeah. I really like the Flash a lot as a character in this. I really liked the scene where he was at the job interview or whatever. That was kind of a cool, and I felt like I cared about the Flash more than I thought I would. I guess. It felt like a lot of the heart of the movie was in him, and even though sometimes I'm not totally sure how I feel about the humor, I do think that he's a very sympathetic character, so I like the Flash a lot. Absolutely.
All right, so not a lot to go on these characters, but it was nice to have more backstory on Aquaman and Cyborg to learn more about who they are and stuff like that.
Yeah, I almost forgot about Aquaman when I was listening. When I was listening through, who else do we have? Cyborg, Superman. Yeah, Aquaman doesn't get a whole ton. But I guess yeah, I don't have a lot. Like, I wasn't yearning for more, like with Wonder Woman and Batman, but that might just be because it's Aquaman.
I liked Aquaman and Cyborg in the movie, but they weren't like. Yeah, for me, it's Batman, Flash, and Wonder Woman. Those are the stars of the movie.
Yeah, I'll say there wasn't as much heart or like care that I felt just with what Aquaman had in this movie. I will actually say that with Cyborg, I thought that there was a lot of pretty powerful stuff. I thought there was some heart in that, more Cyborg than Aquaman.
Yeah, like I mean, between Cyborg was a better character than Aquaman was. And it was nice to like have more of a backstory. Like, how did he get to be the way he did? Like, his mother's in the car accident, stuff like that.
I actually felt that Cyborg felt like a more major character in this cut than the theatrical cut. Maybe like he seemed. It felt like there was a bit more weight to the character.
Now, some of the stuff I would say you maybe don't put in a Justice League movie. Instead, save it for a standalone Cyborg movie.
Yes. Yeah.
But I did, if we're going to go 4 hours, it was nice to kind of flesh out more of Cyborg.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I think a lot of this movie felt like to me, which was, we have the time.
Oh, yes.
You can just do this.
Now, let's talk about Steppenwolf, our big bad guy. We won't talk about his design. We'll save that for later for what sucked. Because that design for Steppenwolf was awful. But, Steppenwolf, not one of the great villains. Not even the best villain in this movie. But it was nice to kind of know more about his motivation, about how he's trying to please Darkseid to get back to Apocalypse. By the way, Steppenwolf looks nothing like his comic counterpart. Like how Darkseid looks like he's from the comics.
Yeah.
Steppenwolf in the movie doesn't look like Steppenwolf from the comics. But it was...
I'm going to look. Oh, yeah, very, very different.
Yeah, but it was nice to kind of have Steppenwolf. We know more about his motivation. We know what he's trying to do. You know, he's not talking to the box saying, "Mother, eons have passed since whatever it was." Mother. Yeah. Oh, was that actually in the movie where he goes, "I must go, mother is calling," or did I just make that up? I don't know.
It sounds, I would believe it if it sounds right.
You know, it went from Martha in BVS to Mother in Justice League. So yeah, there we go. So what are your thoughts? I mean, I guess if you like the design, we can get him. We'll save the design for later. But what are your thoughts on the way Steppenwolf was presented in here?
I think that there was literally a scene with Steppenwolf that I out loud to myself just went, "Why does he look like that?" Like there's something goofy about him.
You know, I'll before we'll get into it later, but I'll just say this. Everyone was freaking out, but I must say it. The theatrical cut, the design of Steppenwolf is better.
I'm looking. I didn't remember how different it was, and I've been like looking up images trying to see if this is actually like for real how different. I did not remember. He looks much more like a person wearing a helmet than the sort of alien.
I'll just say I think that looks better than
I'll say 100% design wise, 100% the old one is better.
But in animation wise, the new one looks better because they had more time.
If they would have just put more time into the old design, that would be better.
Yeah, I mean, I think that design, the new design looks awful.
He has a very goofy, tiny face.
Yes.
It's very strange. I did not realize that it was this different. For some reason, it just kind of like, I think that was my, like, why does he look like that? Because something was weird. Something was off. I was like, this is different. Why does he look like that? Yeah. Didn't realize it was that different. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, the villain was kind of a wash in this movie in both versions.
Luckily, not as bad as Jesse Eisenberg's Lex, but
yeah.
All right. Let's get into the best villain of the movie, right? May have had a small role, but hey, it was better than what Steppenwolf had.
Yeah.
Let's get into Darkseid. Darkseid is the big bad of the DC universe.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did not think we were going to... I thought Darkseid was going to have a pretty tiny role. To be honest, I thought it would be just something they'd add in, like, now the Snyder Cut was going to happen. It's just something they quickly threw in there.
Yeah.
But, man, when Darkseid was on, he was awesome. The performance, I think the guy's name is Ray Porter, did a great job voicing the character. I love the design of Darkseid much more than Steppenwolf. And boy, man, when he was on, you could feel the power of that villain.
That made it it actually, to me, improved the it improved the feeling overall, because like I thought Steppenwolf was kind of a lame villain in the first version, and like so it gave this feeling of like, this is the guy, Steppenwolf is the guy who's very powerful and is they're dealing with right now, but there's this looming greater evil that they still need to deal with. It makes it feel like, it would be cool if we would get to see that to fruition in like a Thanos sort of sense. But even if we don't see that, I think the stakes being that high, and knowing that the stakes are that high, makes Steppenwolf feel like more of a pawn in a bigger thing, and that bigger thing is really the villain. So
I'll be honest. If I could have made any suggestion to Zack Snyder, I would say, Zack, why not, instead of doing Steppenwolf, take him out and put Darkseid in his place?
yeah.
Just
and honestly, I
double over the
almost thought that's
dialogue
what
and
they
do
were gonna
that.
do. I almost thought that's what they were gonna do. When
Because
I
they
saw
did do
the dark.
that. There is a scene where Darkseid in the flashback is in Steppenwolf's place.
Oh, really?
When it's the Amazons and Atlanteans.
Oh, yeah. That would be cool. I could see that someone arguing that that's evidence of bad writing if you can just put a different CGI character in the place, but
it would have been better.
Still, it would have it would have been better. It was good, but it could be better.
Oh yes. Oh, to quote Max Lloyd.
Yeah.
All right. Now, compared to Batman versus Superman, the character interactions in this movie were so much better. Whether you're talking about Batman and Wonder Woman or Batman and the Flash, because like I said, it falls into Super Friends territory where in BVS, maybe Wonder Woman was a little similar in BVS too, where at least in Batman versus, like, the scene they first meet, right?
Yeah.
Where Superman says, next time they shine a light in the sky, don't bother going to it. The bat is dead. Bury it. If you take away the bat reference and you just read that dialogue, you can't tell who's who.
Yeah.
Versus like that. I mean, the scene that we talked about earlier, like when Bruce first meets Flash, you take away, you don't know who's talking. You could easily tell who's Bruce, who's Barry. And
totally.
Same thing with like Wonder Woman and Cyborg and stuff like that.
Yeah, very distinct for sure.
Yeah, and I think that made the movie better.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. The characters all felt distinct and had their own personalities, which feels like the bare minimum. So
yes, that's how you get a passing grade, just the bare minimum C.
Yep.
All right, now as a Batman fan, we've had so many movies where it's just been solo Batman the last, oh my God, has it been 16 years since Batman Begins? Wow, that is a mind screw right there. But we've had so much solo Batman. I really wanted Robin to be in The Dark Knight Rises. No, that doesn't count. Stupid name thing.
Yeah.
But it was so nice to see Batman in a mentor role. And I think that's when you can do more with the character, where he can be more cool. Because when it's just him by himself, it's more of, is Batman going to be in trouble? But no, not only does Batman have to protect himself, he's got to help out other people. And he doesn't want to lose a member of his team. And I think whatever incarnation you're talking about, giving Batman like a new family, whether you're talking about Robin, Nightwing, and Batgirl, or whether you're talking about the Justice League, that right there, that is like a perfect ending for that character. Is that, hey, he goes out at night and fights criminals, and the universe rewarded him by giving him a family again.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and also it was, besides Batman, Wonder Woman was also a great leader for the League. Yeah. So what'd you think about, Batman, Wonder Woman mentoring this group of heroes?
Yeah, I thought that was a really nice, it was a refreshing way to see Batman as that sort of figure in this group, different than we've seen in the recent past. So I'm trying to think if I really have much to comment on about that. I think Um, it would be interesting, I think. I don't know. It's hard to not imagine taking this further, even though we know it's the last thing. But I just imagine, like, I like to imagine where it would be, what it would be if they were more equals, and they, uh, Batman didn't always take that mentor role. Uh, but for the first Justice and last Justice League movie,
At least
I
this
think it's
incarnation.
yeah, it's a good
unless version. Well, we'll get that later. Unless we hear Superman, Wonder Woman are in the Flash, then I'd say good enough. That's a Justice League too. But
yeah, yeah, that's true. That'd be cool.
Yeah, boy, where was I? I was gonna bring something up. Now yeah, you're kind of talking about wouldn't it have been nice to have had a Spider-Man 2 or the Dark Knight for Justice League, where it's like everything's established, let's just go and have fun.
Yeah, I guess that is what I felt like. Like I didn't necessarily want Batman to feel like just a mentor. I would have liked everyone else to feel like an equal who steps up just as much and has their own sort of leadership role. Because that would maybe make Batman be able to feel a little more like just Batman who does get to do some more of the action or whatever. But it's fine for this movie.
All right, now this was a really nice scene, I thought. Done better in here than in the theatrical cut. We're dealing with what is the world like without Superman, but we can't help but think, what is the world like without Clark for Lois and Martha? Mm-hmm. So I thought the scene with Lois and Martha talking about how Lois is struggling to get back into the world was really great. One of like the highlight scenes, almost ruined by the fact that you find out it's not freaking Martha. That was so dumb, but we'll get into that later. But
I just realized I just recontextualized that.
Oh
scene
yes,
in my head. I had
so to... overall I enjoyed that scene minus the last 10 minutes, which borderline ruined it. Mm-hmm. But also we find obviously there's a pregnancy test in there, so maybe little baby Jonathan.
Oh, there.
Ooh. So yeah, what did you think about? I don't know if you remember, but the scene between Lois and Martha and what life was like for Lois without Clark.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. I liked what I remember of that from the theatrical cut too. I did like that there was more time to let that breathe, to sort of sit with her grief a bit. That was a more emotional part of the story.
For me, comparing to the theatrical cut, Lois is at the Daily Planet in the theatrical cut, and in this one, it's Martha telling her to get back to the Daily Planet.
I gotcha. Yeah, that does add more context and setup that is useful.
Martha.
Right. I think this is always one thing with like with Superman as a character, at least in this version, is like, it always makes me like, do you really process grief the same way when you're in a universe where he could very easily come back to life?
But they don't know that.
Yeah, I guess so. But I maybe I'm coming at it with too much of a
yeah, it's not like the comics where every 5 years you die and come back.
Yeah, it's just
which I really hope someday they stop doing that. Like, it was cool in '93 when they did it with Superman. It's been lame ever since.
Yeah. I'm maybe that's that's what I'm exhausted by in comics too. Yeah, a good point. I overall, it is one of the grounding parts of the. It's not as grounded as what we talked about in the last special episode.
Yes,
back in old Smallville with all the family issues, seeing it firsthand. But it does ground the issues and the grief of this movie quite a bit. So yeah, that's a good part.
All right, now this Snyder cut we knew was gonna be full Zack Snyder, and boy, that final scene with Steppenwolf, the final fight scene, man, did that really show off Zack's skills. Maybe he used a little bit too much slow-mo in the whole movie. Heck, maybe we could have lost a half hour if it had been regular speed.
Yeah, that was going. Well, I guess we'll get into that more with the there is a lot of slow-mo.
There is a lot, especially in a 4-hour movie. You're like, come on, dude, let's get on with it.
Yeah.
But those fight scenes in the climax, whether you're talking about like, yeah, just the whole fight with Steppenwolf, the whole league together, oh, it was awesome. It is everything you want in a Justice League movie, at least in terms of action scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So what'd you think about that awesome fight scene that at the end, the action in terms of the end?
Very, very last. Yeah, I thought that was really awesome. Seeing them finally, I mean, after a long 4-hour movie, it was really, really satisfying close. And like I mentioned, I loved the part where they all got to have their own little part of finally defeating him, that they each had a role in it. And then finally Wonder Woman comes down and chops off his head, and that's
oh yeah, that was
pretty
cool.
badass. It's pretty cool. So now, yeah, it was great seeing it's Justice League. It's great to see them all come together and fight together and use their powers together. So yeah, it's great.
Now, I don't know. Now, to be fair, there was a cool slow-mo scene. Now, could have been cool if someone wasn't in the car, but that was pretty cool right there.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard some people mention it might be a reference to this cover because, you know, they're kind of going that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But either way,
it feels like a stretch because superheroes are like that a lot.
Yeah, but look at that scene with Aquaman, Cyborg,
that's awesome.
Wonder Woman's got the best pose right there. That is awesome.
Yeah,
and Flash right there. I just wish Batman would have been on Grapple Line or something, but
yeah, it would have been cool. Anything else on?
Well, let's get into one of the coolest moments, which was when it looked like they were defeated. They were screwed. And I was thinking, oh, is this a cliffhanger everyone was talking about? But we saw the Flash use the Speed Force and go back in time and fix everything.
Right. Yeah.
That was awesome. Honestly, one of the best action scenes we've ever seen in a superhero movie. It was great. Really built it up so that, I mean, you have a tough job to follow up on the great Flash TV show that's on right now. You have to give them something a little bit more in the movies. And that scene, was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was such an awesome Flash scene that it almost or maybe kind of did make me recontextualize one of my complaints. I'll get into there's a lot of Flash scenes, like slow-mo Flash scenes,
like with the hot dogs in the air.
Yeah. But it sort of did make it in the end feel like you've seen this before and now this is the time. Like they contextualized like his abilities well enough to where I think everyone understands the feat that he just did to bring them back to victory.
Oh, yes. So I guess final thing that worked, you know, I'm going to disagree with a lot of people who have watched the Snyder Cut. A lot of people are talking about, oh, this ends on a big cliffhanger. Honestly, no, it doesn't. I had to completely disagree with that ends on a cliffhanger, because there's a lot of people are talking about those stupid nightmare scenes that were dumb and pointless, never should have been filmed in the first place. But when you watch them, and why is Batman getting those dreams? But whatever. But anyway, when you watch those, it's just Bruce is having some dreams. Alfred needs to stop watching Mad Max Fury Road so many times.
Yeah.
When you look at the ending, whether you're talking about Superman, the shirt rip, we won't talk about how he still has that stupid black suit at the end. Whether it's Batman getting the bat signal in the sky, or the actual final scene of the movie where John Jones, who doesn't even know Bruce's parents, so I guess it doesn't mean as much, but it's the thought that counts, that Bruce's parents would be proud of him, or Wonder Woman finding her place, or Barry getting that job at the Central City Police Department, or Aquaman kind of taking his reign as King of Atlantis, or Cyborg getting his upgrade. It feels like everything is naturally tied up. Like, it's done. It's over. And you know what? Mm-hmm. It's okay to say goodbye. Like, it's wrapped up. It's put in a nice bow. I don't know how the Snyderverse could have a better ending than that. Like, it just feels everything is wrapped up perfectly well. It's just, as an ending, I thought those last few minutes perfectly nail it. Minus that stupid nightmare Joker crap.
I would fully agree that I don't think there's anything about the narrative and the main characters, the Justice League, that doesn't feel wrapped up. It feels like everything is wrapped up there. I think I would maybe just disagree with what they chose to put at the end, because then it feels like...
You mean the Deathstroke scene, or...
Am I right? The very, very like literally the last scene, wasn't it? When the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
That feels like I can understand. Like, someone might feel like that's a cliffhanger because, like, oh, they.
Well, now we know. New member.
Yeah, and I that's the way I took it. Like, okay, here the Justice League is growing, but
now it's 7 members.
But
and like, I almost took it like that scene, Bruce being told his parents would be proud of him, is like everything is tied up.
No, I don't, like I said, I don't think that it feels like there's any loose ends with the characters.
All right, so shall we talk about what could have been better?
Let's do that.
Let's get a bunch of people who rallied so hard on the Snyder Cut to hate us.
Are there like really hardcore fans of the Snyder Cut? Or like are there people who swear by it?
They think it is God's gift to cinema. And by God, they mean Zack Snyder. It is just brilliant.
Okay.
It is the best superhero movie ever made. Warner Brothers was fools to move on from the Snyderverse. And they believe that there's going to be a sequel coming soon.
All right. Yeah. So if that's
you seem a little scared now, like, oh my God, is it too late to back out of this?
Yeah, I think I said not to fire me earlier for not knowing enough. It might be, I think I quit. No.
All right, go text that to Paul.
Yeah, no, I don't want to talk to Paul. I'll stay on the podcast. I've said more controversial opinions about Star Wars than I'll ever say about the Snyder Cut.
Yes.
It's fine. It is completely fine. The Last Jedi was good. Let's move on.
All right. Let's get into the first thing. There were 2 big problems I had with the movie. Well, I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. But there were 2 big problems, which could have made it from good to great.
Yes.
And one of them, sometimes more isn't better. You could really feel that 4-hour runtime. Now, look, I'll be honest. Batman versus Superman and Avengers Endgame at 3 hours, you don't feel the runtime. In fact, they feel shorter than a lot of 2.5-hour movies.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there was a way where 4 hours could have worked. But man, do you really feel it?
Yeah.
Especially in the first hour. The first hour is the one that feels really dragged out.
Yeah.
So bigger isn't always better. Like, look, if you filmed it all, it's going to be on streaming. Why not? But I would have preferred an alternate, shorter one.
Yeah. No, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying at the beginning, where it feels like there would be some in between. Like you could take the Snyder stuff and make an edit of it that is better. And the other thing I'll say, like, I don't have a problem with it being 4 hours at all. My favorite movie franchise and my favorite version of those franchises are all 4-hour movies. It's the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the extended cuts. They're all like 4 hours long each. Like, even for me, like it's not easy to like watch those movies in one sitting. Those are also movies where you can watch part of it and then watch another part of it later. And it's also like, if you're not in the right mood, there's a lot of information and it can drag on, especially with the second movie. I think the first and last are fairly exciting and don't feel that long.
Is it like what most people think of Star Wars? It's the reverse, where most people think Empire is the best Star Wars. Is 2 the worst of Lord of the Rings?
A lot of people swear by that being the best. I think a lot of people do. I think I probably will. I might like it the least. It's just it's a lot more detail heavy and drags out. And like there's a very clear like beginning of the story in the first one where it feels more down to earth, and there's a very clear climax and ending in the last one where there's a lot of this like connective tissue in the middle that a lot of people really love because it's really action packed and there's a lot of really dark dramatic stuff and war and stuff. But I think it's the least accessible. Anyway, I think, but like with the Two Towers, like the extended version of that's the second one. It's like a 4-hour movie with just tons of detail. I don't think that if a person watching through Lord of the Rings the first time chooses to watch the extended cuts the first time, that would be such a slog to get through. But it's because there's so much information and so much stuff happening. It's not like slow. That brings me to the Snyder Cut, which is a 4-hour movie. It's not like half the runtime is just slow motion and hero shots.
Yeah,
like I that's
he really, that's another point. He really did put in way too much slow motion into this movie.
Like every single action sequence, even if it wasn't a big like important one that was the end of an act, had a super dramatic slow-mo shot every single time. And like that to me says that it doesn't need to be 4 hours. It's different than other 4-hour movie experiences in that way. It doesn't justify it. It isn't justified by having a lot of content story-wise to fill that out. It was odd to me. And I definitely felt it because of that, where sometimes I would during the runtime almost zone out. Like it would start to get like slow and there'd be dramatic music playing and I'm like, okay, this is the 11th time this has happened. I'm starting to zone out.
I felt that a lot too.
And like with the Flash, sometimes like every time he does anything, it's a slow-mo dramatic scene where things are just floating and time is still, and it's just electricity and him like focused on something. It feels like those scenes are so long, and
should be the opposite. He's fast.
I know. Sometimes I wonder, like, I get that, especially in the climax. There, it's really cool because like the music is swelling, the electricity is all slow. You're seeing it slowly reverse. That's great. That's a great choice to make it slow because you're like, he's so fast. You're kind of seeing it how he sees it. I get that, but I feel like wouldn't it be more exciting to sometimes see the Flash just move really fast?
Yes, it would.
Like these extremely dragged out, like every single Flash scene was treated like the climax scene because it was slow and there was music swelling and like when his finger is slowly and it's like 10 minutes
breaking through the glass.
Yeah. And sometimes don't you just want him to go?
Yes.
I feel like how many times in the movie did he just go? Like, I feel like you never see that. Just
I don't recall that ever happening.
I know. I don't know. That's strange to me. And added to so much of the runtime. And
like honestly, the only slow-mo scene I felt was worth keeping was that one I just showed of like the heroes in that cool pose.
Yeah,
that was really the only one cool. I felt.
I feel
necessary.
Like you can select the best, most dramatic like parts that are like. It feels like every time the heroes were all together, they also were trying to like make it a dramatic hero shot.
Like when they're all standing up.
Yeah. Every time they were together, it was like, oh, it's the Justice League. And then now it's 5 minutes of music and like slowly panning on them to the point where I feel like it kind of ruined the final one for me. Like there's right after they're victorious and they're all standing like in the sunlight and it's slowly panning across all of them. I think it zooms out and you see that's awesome.
Yeah.
But it happens so many times through the movie.
Yeah, like you see them just standing there and then we cut to that and it's still slow-mo.
Yeah, this kind of thing happens so often in the movie that it made this feel like it wasn't the climax of the movie. I was just like, is this the end? Because this happens all the time. How am I supposed to know that like the language of movies where like you normally when I would see this, I would go, this is the end of the movie. Honestly, if it just cut out after this and it rolled credits, normally I would be like, that makes sense. That felt like the end of a movie. Not that would be the most satisfying thing, but instead, when I was watching this, I was like, so is this am I supposed to feel like this is it? Like this is the big ending, like they were victorious? Because this is what happens every 10 minutes in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah. But recontextualizing it, that was really awesome. That and them flying were the coolest versions of that. But yeah.
All right, now let's get into the next problem I had with this movie. Like these were the two biggest issues I had. Notice how we didn't mention a character earlier in what worked. The character. Oh, you don't remember? Well, because he's the most forgettable character of the movie. That is Superman.
Yeah. Okay.
You're like, oh yeah, Superman was in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Despite coming back from the dead, despite about talking about I've got a second chance and I'm not going to waste it, he's still the same mopey character from Man of Steel and BVS. He is still the Mope of Steel. In fact, he even gets even more mopey by going full gothic in that black suit. And he doesn't even get rid of it at the end. Now, it's a little homage to the comics. Actually, I heard that was changed for the Snyder Cut. Warner Brothers didn't want him in the black suit. They filmed it in the red and blue, which I agree with Warner Brothers. That was the better decision. And when they were editing it, because, you know, what does it matter? The Snyderverse is done anyway. They digitally altered it to be black.
I see.
So he goes through his emo phase, his just gothic phase, and then he keeps the suit at the end. And even like one of my favorite scenes from the theatrical cut is where Superman enters with Steppenwolf and he says, like something like, I believe in truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice. And that was like, yeah, they finally got DCEU Superman right. But this one, he just zooms in with his black suit.
Yeah.
You know, Steppenwolf hits him, goes, I'm not impressed. And I swear I thought was going to wipe a tear because Steppenwolf ruined his new suit. Like,
yeah,
my suit
too bad.
Is ripped.
Yeah. Yeah. If I were to say I'm like felt like I was missing something from the theatrical cut, and in general, I don't feel like I was missing much. In fact, there are a lot of things where it was only in retrospect where I was like, you know, I didn't hate that in the theatrical cut, but looking back, I'm glad that wasn't in it this time. There were several things like that, but the thing that really felt missing was a lot of the stuff towards the end of the movie that made Superman feel more like Superman, that I just something felt missing with them there at the end. There were some of those more like the one you mentioned, more cheerful scenes where in general, I'm glad that the entire like village thing during the climax with the weird family thing, all that Joss Whedon stuff, generally glad that
the
was
one
all
family
gone.
in Russia.
Yes. But there were sprinkled throughout the whole end of the theatrical cut some more jolly Superman moments.
Yeah, like in this, like he is so forgettable. Like part of me is glad Warner Brothers didn't use him in the marketing because he has no role in the movie.
Yeah.
He just is kind of there. Like Alfred has more of an important role than Superman.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really and like the thing is, because I never cared that much about this version of Superman anyway, it didn't affect my view of it that much.
This is Justice League though, like
I know, but I guess while watching it, but they really should have done Superman better.
Which is what we said for three films now.
Yeah. Yeah. It had a last chance. And
all right, now let's talk about something a specific scene that felt really dragged out. And this is not a moment that you want dragged out. Man, that opening scene where we revisit Superman's death in BVS and, you know, his scream wakes up the mother boxes. Boy, did that just go on and on? I'm like,
I wonder what I was doing. I blocked this out completely. I think I was playing video games or something. So.
That was so boring and nothing like it. And it's such a slow thing. It felt like it was happening in slow-mo too. It's like, oh God, get on with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they didn't. I don't think they needed to recap that.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk.
Actually, I will say this is I like that they put that whole recap thing a little later in the movie, because didn't the first one, the other one just started with it? The like expose or the whole explanation from Wonder Woman.
You mean his death, or
the lore explanation from like, this is more the explanation of the mother boxes.
Oh, right. Yeah. I did like how that kicked off, how his death did kick off everything, but yikes, dude, like it's so dragged out.
Oh, I don't like the way this started at all. I think both versions started bad.
Well, no, I'll disagree. First one, we had in the theatrical cut, Superman. We saw Superman actually act like Superman, where he's like, "Sure, I'll be on your podcast with your stupid hippo question."
I'm more
then we had Batman versus the Robber.
Yeah, we're I liked that stuff.
And then we had the music montage, which may have like you felt more of like the world without Superman versus this was okay. He's gone.
When does we're comparing it to the theatrical, but when does the mother box explanation happen in the theatrical version?
I think when Diana goes to talk to Bruce.
That's the same time it happens in the I for some reason I thought the movie opened with that.
No, opens with Superman the podcast, then the robber, then the music montage, then it goes to the robbery. Right. Then I think it's Bruce. No, wait, it couldn't be that because he gets buried. Then it's what's going on with Cyborg. Then it's Bruce and Diana talking, and then that's how when you get the explanation of the mother box.
Got it. Okay. I just remember it feeling less convoluted in this version, but maybe that's just because there was more movie to help you contextualize it. Because I remember feeling more confused in the theater.
I think like the Snyder Cut did more of a better job of showing why you should be afraid of Darkseid.
Yeah, got it. All right. Well, thanks for helping me unravel the theatrical version years later.
Oh, yes. All right. We talked about this earlier. Let's get into it now. That Steppenwolf design is awful. It's terrible. Metal spikes. It looks like crap. I hated it.
Yeah, bold move to do CGI of tons of tiny little reflective.
And was it really necessary for them to move like that?
Yeah, I don't know. Because I had my overall, I don't get what this character is in general, but yeah, the like I'd say that old one that I think that CGI looks pretty bad. It's weirdly oily, fake looking skin on the one on the left.
Yeah, the other one looks more complete.
Yeah.
The theatrical cut is just a better design.
Yeah, in fact, I actually, for some reason in my memory, I thought it was worse than that. Like I thought it was this less human sort of alien looking, but yeah, that's a better villain. The only thing I don't really like about it is that in the original, Steppenwolf looks so much like just a guy, but completely CGI. So it's a little weird looking. But that's my only complaint.
Yeah, like the spikes, was that really necessary?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I was not a fan of Steppenwolf's design. Yeah. I mean, especially in a film where, regardless of what you think, like the Batman suit looks great, Darkseid looks great, Wonder Woman's suit looks great, Flash, even the gothic black Superman suit looks pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. People talk about, let's make fun of it. What was up with the lady grabbing Aquaman's shirt, sniffing it, and then everyone there singing a weird song?
Oh, yeah. It broke out in song.
Dude, I gotta say this. That was worse than anything we saw in the theatrical cut. That was so cringy. It's like, yikes.
That was really like, this is only a director's cut, kind of like there's no movie would like put this in it with that. That's such a director's cut thing. That's such a director's vision. No one like really.
I just wish there would have been a scene where Bruce looks over to them annoyed and goes, oh, Jesus Christ. And just walks away or something.
Yeah. What was the point of that? I don't know.
I don't know. It, like, maybe it's a producer's daughter who wants to break into music and they thought this was a way to get it. I don't know, but it's like, why?
Yeah, I know. I don't have much to say about that. It was part of the first hour of this movie, which I think we all know is
the weakest. You know what? I think like both BVS and Watchmen, like the first hours are weakest, and then they get better.
Yeah.
I think that's usually a pattern with Snyder. It's like the later it gets, the better it gets.
Uh-huh.
All right. Let's talk about something that really got annoying after a while. The soundtrack. I don't think it was just for Wonder Woman. I think it was everyone where the lady starts like screaming her music or whatever. Like whenever they're about to go in a slow-mo or something.
Wait, I'm trying to think. Was this the I know that there was a recurring like motif where it sounded almost like an opera singer.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
There was a point after a while where I groaned whenever I was like, "Oh, can that lady shut up?"
Yeah, I get the drama of that. I think that could be used effectively, but I don't understand using it multiple times.
Like, use it once in the final battle where she's about to cut off Steppenwolf's head. Don't go back over and over and over and over and over and use it.
Yeah. Like, I feel like if you have a musical motif or something, you could probably maybe do the same melody, but with different instrumentation or something, and have something in particular that it's coming back with. I don't know, something like the Force theme or something, where it's like a motif that is attached to something.
And like when Wonder Woman's about to have a big action scene, you don't want to hear that. You want to hear the Wonder Woman theme.
Yeah. I'd be curious to know more about that piece and why it is that way.
Yes. Now, we talked about it earlier. I just got to bring it up. Man, the Martha Lowe scene was very nice. Borderline ruined by how stupid it was. That wasn't even her. It was Martian Manhunter. So, it felt like, honestly, it felt like there was no plan for that to actually happen. And it's just a myth that the Snyder Cut people created, and Zack just put it in there.
Right.
For later. And look, I just gotta say, they totally ripped off Supergirl with that. Oh, really? Like, oh, here's this military guy who doesn't trust a Kryptonian and then ends up trusting them. And, you know, they both have really nice, deep voices. So why not have them be Martian Manhunter? You can't give it. They totally ripped that off from Supergirl.
I see. Yeah, I'll take her word on that.
All right. So did you have anything? Did that bother you as much as it did me? Like, that's not even Martha. Like,
I didn't recontextualize like the past scenes after I heard that. But yeah, now you ruined it for me for sure. Yeah.
Well, you're welcome.
Like to have an emotional scene between two characters and then it turns out that's very strange.
All right.
It doesn't seem like the first scene would have ever been intended to be shot that way. Like they would have made it such a powerful scene if they knew that to begin with.
Here's a question I gotta ask.
All right.
Why did Cyborg's dad, Silas Stone, get into that room with the mother box as that laser was pointing at it? Did they just kill him off just to kill him off? Was he like, son, I've seen aliens, I've seen Kryptonians, I've seen Amazons. This is the peak of life. I quit. I'm done. You, sir, are on your own. Upgrade yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to figure that out. Because like I get they were trying to go for some kind of sacrifice thing to help, but I was trying to figure out like why was did he just end up in there because he was trying to do something and then he's like, oh whoops, I'm stuck in here now, I guess I gotta do what I gotta do. Like I couldn't quite piece together why, and maybe the answer is that there isn't a good reason and that he
maybe it's just, well, because he had to die. So if you're going to die, why not go out with a mother box?
Yeah, because let me see. So he like, I don't know what it's called, but he like activated it or like whatever. They explained to.
They were shooting like a laser at it.
Yeah, and they explained that the reason why he did it was to create some kind of heat signature that would help them locate the other ones,
something like that.
But I don't understand why he had to be in there.
Like
was
if
it an accident?
No, I think he's just there, just like, hey son, I'm done. Like I can't do this.
Yeah, I don't know.
It felt like they just killed him off just to kill him off.
Yeah, just to have something.
Kind of like to have a Coulson moment from the first Avengers.
Yeah.
All right. Here's something that was in the theatrical cut, and I never even understood it, and I still don't get it here. Why are they making Wayne Manor the Hall of Justice? Like, that is a dead giveaway about who Batman is.
Yeah. Like when people are just like, did you notice that Wonder Woman, Superman, Aquaman, the whole gang, they all just went to Wayne Manor? Did anyone notice that? Is that fine?
Like, they all just go to Wayne Manor. Like, they recruit Green Arrow for the thing, and he gets the address, and he's like, wait, this is Wayne Manor. Oh, I see what's going on. Bruce Wayne is friends with Batman. That's what it must be.
Like, wow, Bruce Wayne really is rich. He can afford to make this place for these people he has no affiliation with.
There's like a scene where they're having a meeting and Green Arrow's there. And then like Alfred walks in and goes, oh crap. And Green Arrow's like, yo, you hired Bruce Wayne's butler too? Wow, that must cost you a pretty penny. Wow, Alfred, 2 paychecks. That must be nice. And then Alfred's like, you have no idea what I go through, sir.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know.
Why not have like an abandoned Wayne Enterprises building, or like he talks about how he bought a bank at the end. Why not just buy another building?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they could have had it in a bank.
Oh, yes. Hall of Justice, you could put that anywhere.
Yeah, I put it in the bank vault.
Oh, yes.
Be kind of cool.
All right. Let's get into this. All right.
I had two of my most major issues with this movie, and we haven't gotten to the other one yet. So
I had one more major issue, but what were you going to bring up? It might be the one I was going to mention.
Well, that's what I was thinking. You already mentioned not liking it, I think. Basically, I have a problem with like 90% of the epilogue, but that's because it felt like most of the epilogue was the dream sequence stuff.
Oh, and I hate those so much with
awful.
A passion.
Yeah. I truly, when I saw like Bruce Wayne wake up from the Joker dream, I really felt like, why did you waste my time?
And you know what? That wasn't even filmed in 2017. They went back and filmed that this year.
What an absolute waste of time for everyone.
Just I know.
Absolute unnecessary waste of just resources, the actors' time, the entire staff.
Like, I mean, honestly, think about it. in
What a
Batman
waste
versus Superman and multiple times in Justice League, because they show like a vision where like Superman's holding Batman's head.
Yeah.
Those were completely stupid, dumb. They add nothing to the story. Like, it shouldn't have been there in BVS.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been there in Justice League. All it is showing, hey, we were going to do a really crappy sequel based on a video game.
Right. I was about ready to tune out and just say, like, I know how this movie ends. I don't even need to. I was so, like, done while the Mad Max crap and the Joker crap were happening. I was just like, why? Like, this doesn't have anything to do with the entire story you were saying before this. This is...
Why do we waste time on that? And that was supposed to be what Justice League 2 and 3 were all about. And I don't think I could have sat through a movie like that.
Yeah. To bring it back to this reference, I think a lot of people kind of make fun of the end of the epilogue of the Lord of the Rings, because the entire last this is just a guess, it might be 45 minutes or something, is all of this closure stuff. It's just scene after scene after scene of closure stuff where you're just getting all of the wrap up. It feels like there's 5 or 6 endings that every time it fades out, it feels like it's over, and then it comes back in and there's another wrap up. But those at least were giving closure to the extremely long story and giving you where the characters are ending up, and we're wrapping up the core conceit of the moral of the story in a way. This last half hour felt like a complete antithesis of everything that came before it, and it was a complete waste of time.
Yeah, there was no reason for that to be there. There's no reason for it to ever be shot or filmed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a complete waste in 2 movies.
That actually makes me hate it more. I didn't know that it was shot later. I was thinking you couldn't have possibly been shooting this for Justice League. This had to have been some weird leftover footage from something. I just couldn't believe that it was for that. And now that it makes so much more sense that you say that it was shot later.
Yeah, it was Snyder trying to beg for a sequel.
I got it. Okay.
All right. And last thing, bring up what didn't work. I gotta say, I'm still not a fan of Jared Leto's performance as Joker. I thought it was really bad, especially when he almost goes full Christian Bale, where he's like, "We live in a society, don't we, Batman?" It's like, oh my god, no. We had raspy voice Batman, then we got good Batman. Now we have bad Joker, and he's raspy Joker. No. It just, he's really just overdoing it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel natural like a Cesar Romero, a Jack Nicholson, a Heath Ledger, a Cameron, whatever his name was from Gotham. I'm sorry, dude. You are great, but I can't remember your name.
Yeah. I don't know. No one really likes this version of Joker, right? Why did they try so hard to bring him back?
I think it was just, if Ben's done, let's just at least get one scene with them together. Which, if you're going to do that, why not just have that be the opening or the ending where he just catches Joker in regular Gotham City?
Yeah, and I'll say I happened to see the cast and saw Jared Leto in it, and I was like, oh, how are they putting the Joker's going to be in it again? So I was kind of half expecting some kind of small cameo. I did not expect it to be a completely arbitrary dream sequence. There's so many ways to incorporate the Joker into it. What a weird narrative choice.
remember that scene where they think it's Lex Luthor in Arkham and it turns out it's not?
Yeah.
You could have easily put Joker in there.
Yeah. And I also didn't want the Lex Luthor stuff. If it had to be, yeah, I would say if you took out almost everything in those parts of the epilogue and had to have the Joker in it, I'd just say just don't even have the Lex Luthor stuff. Just have like, oh, it looks like the Joker escaped. Like,
well, the Lex Luthor stuff with Deathstroke did set up what would have been a very cool Batman movie.
Yeah, but I know that we're I know that that's not it felt pointless because of that, but
yes. All right, here's something we haven't brought up. So this movie did something interesting. They did the 4:3 aspect ratio.
Yeah.
Now, to be honest, when they first announced it, I was not a fan. In fact, in the trailer, I was hoping it wasn't real.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about the aspect ratio? Overall, now, I'm going to try and bring something up, but they did update Batman versus Superman digitally to where it changes for the shots filmed in IMAX. And when you watch it like that, where it switches, it really makes those scenes pop. Like, as someone who's watched BVS a lot and seen like the full image, it was like, wow. And I wish it was switched back and forth like that in Justice League, because I don't think the full thing would have been filmed in IMAX cameras. So, if the whole thing was in IMAX, then sure, okay. But wasn't a fan of having the whole thing look like an old TV show. So, what did you think about the aspect ratio? Did it bother you at all, or?
It didn't come to my mind that much. I don't think it bothered me. It didn't irk me while watching or anything. In general, I like and support the idea of like experimenting with different ratios, or like just stuff like I don't know, one of my favorite recent movies that I never got to talk about, because I saw it too late for one of our lists, but The Lighthouse is in like a weird aspect ratio. I think it's a square, or like it's slightly different, but like for that it makes a lot of sense. And like they're fully going into the older movie angle. But I think from the beginning, when I heard it was in 4:3 aspect ratio, I don't know why.
All right, now here's what I was able to find. Okay, and it does, I think, actually make it pop more. So let's see. Where is okay? Yeah. So if you look at it without the IMAX, this is what the scene looked like, which overall looks pretty nice, right?
Yeah.
But then we have an IMAX, it looks like that.
Right.
Like you see his full ears, everything. Mm-hmm. It just makes it pop more.
Yeah, like I definitely think like it shouldn't just be a default that because screens are this size that we must do everything in that, because if I had to guess the reason why like the long like thin thing, I mean, I can imagine like sceneries and like eyes being reasons for that, but not all movies have the same focal points. And when you have a movie with a lot of vertical like interest, like a suit like a zoomed out character of a suit, I can see why having a different aspect ratio would just make more sense.
Well, again, that's like to see the full thing goes shot with IMAX cameras.
Yes. Right, because they actually have to like cut it down to get it to widescreen.
Although in the Dark Knight trilogy, in the Dark Knight, it switches back and forth, but they don't have the bars on the side. It just fits the full screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. From I don't know, from the old days of having a full screen TV and movies starting to be widescreen and needing to deal with those black bars, I think I've gotten fairly used to that, and I don't think I'm that bothered by bars anymore.
Yeah, I just wish they would have switched back and forth, unless the full thing was in IMAX, but that'd be pretty expensive.
Yeah, it could have made certain scenes pop even more to be selective with it, for sure.
All right. Now, we'll get into this comparison thing, all right?
All right.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into we'll get about, in retrospect, now that we've seen the Snyder Cut, we've seen the theatrical cut.
Mm-hmm.
Was it worth everything that the film went through? Because I have two ways to look at it. One is, on one hand, I do think it was better to reshoot the Superman stuff. Because, look, Superman's clearly Snyder's weakness. Like, Batman is his strengths. Superman is a weakness of his.
Yeah.
And I think reshooting the Superman stuff helped Justice League.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you really would have to put your head in the sand to not know that, guys, after BVS, it's over. It's done. No one cares anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit. Did they not know it? They had to have known it was a lost cause. Like, nothing you do is going to change this.
Yeah. I feel like if they really wanted it to be some kind of homage to the characters or something for fans of the DCEU as it is currently, I'm actually surprised and disappointed that it had so much like sequel baiting. It was a lot. That it just felt like you really should have used this as a way to bring closure and wrap up to what came before it. And maybe if there's more, that's great, but don't base so much of this on it.
Well, to be fair, you're talking about the Snyder Cut. That was the plan, was that there were going to be sequels. So if you don't put the sequel stuff in, but there was no need to film that stupid nightmare crap with Joker.
Yeah, that's more what I mean. Yeah, I'm not. That is not a criticism of the theatrical version. That makes sense, and that there are going to be tons of things that sort of set up a sequel, but I guess definitely adding that part was just a not good. But I also just kind of wonder. I mean, you could argue artistic vision. You want it to be like it was supposed to be back then. But I kind of wonder if they could have edited it a little knowing that there wouldn't be a sequel. But
so in the end, we'll move on later after this. But in the end, was it worth removing Snyder and getting Joss Whedon to finish the movie? Well, no, look, we don't know if he was fired or if he left. We just know something happened. And even before Justice League, Warner Brothers wanted to move on from Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Was it worth the hassle? Was it worth all of this to bring in Joss Whedon? Or, no, look, I think both the theatrical and the Snyder Cut have their pros and cons. And I think overall, Superman is a big part of why I would say, it was worth it to get Joss in to fix Superman, even with the mustache thing. But even then, knowing it's the third film following one that got mixed reviews, one that was panned, that kind of, even to this day, we are still feeling the effects of Batman versus Superman. Was it worth it? Was it worth the hassle, or was it a lost cause? To be honest, I don't know. I think bringing in Joss Whedon helped Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's naive to think that it wasn't a lost cause. Justice League did not have a lot of hype. And even before all this drama, it had such a low box office opening, even before people knew the whole, how much of it was Whedon, how much of it was Snyder. Yeah. And as we learned, most of the theatrical cut was Snyder, which for years we heard all these lies. Oh, Snyder only did 10%. We even, in one of our videos, got commented this whole explanation about, oh, really, barely any of it was Snyder. No, most of the theatrical cut is in the Snyder Cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I don't think there was enough gained or any from the bringing Joss Whedon in to really be able to say it was worth it. And it makes me wonder if they would have taken what they already had and taken some time and just tried to make the best narrative they possibly could out of it, if it would have been, if a better version than both of these could have existed. What I'm saying is release the Snyder Cut.
Yes.
That's my campaign.
Important part is cut.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think it was worth it.
All right. Now, I didn't want to bring this up, but a lot of people are bringing it up, so it needs to be asked.
Sure.
After the reaction to the Snyder Cut, should the Snyderverse, as we know it, be restored into the DCEU? Should we continue with Zack's vision? And I have 5 points to make on that. But I guess I'll turn to you first.
I have 4 words to make on that.
All right.
God, I hope not.
Well, that is brutally honest.
Yeah, I guess that's I guess I liked the Snyder cut overall quite a bit, actually. But I think my reaction to bringing it back in and like trying again, I think, is God, I hope not.
Yes. So for me, it's really one answer. I mean, one word answer. It's no. Because there are some things that we need to remember. Regardless of how I liked it, you can't objectively look at it and not say this. Batman versus Superman killed the DCEU. Even 5 years later, when you look at these, they are still trying to rebuild after the negative reception to Batman versus Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if they hadn't put themselves in a position to where Justice League was filming 2 weeks after BVS, a Snyder directed Justice League would never have happened. And honestly, it would have been the right choice. It would have been the right choice to cancel Justice League. And like a lot of people were saying, do whatever you can to have Ben Affleck direct Batman, and then give us some time, and then do Justice League.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So there's that. 5 years later, we are still feeling the effects of BVS.
Yeah.
And let's also say it. Snyder's version of Superman killed the Superman film franchise. Like, as much as I love having Superman on TV, make no mistake, the reason Superman's on TV is because they can't put out another movie. Now, they're talking about rebooting, but that is like during season 4 or 5 of Superman and Lois. Like,
yeah,
it's a dead, more than any other superhero, it's a dead movie franchise right now.
Yeah, I think so.
And I just gotta say it. If the sequels were just gonna be more that nightmare Mad Max crap, count me out. Because those are the worst parts of both of Snyder's Justice League or Batman versus Superman movies. Those are the worst parts. They are so dumb.
I truly thought that was absolute garbage, and I didn't know what you were gonna say about it. So I guess I'm glad we agree. I wish we didn't have to agree on that, but yeah, I would. I mean, we'll get more into final thoughts, I assume, but I still would probably say this is the Snyder cut of the Justice League is probably my favorite Snyder work in DC.
Oh, yes.
And that's in spite of the garbage nightmare scenes.
Yes. All right. Now, people are talking about how Batman Justice League Snyder Cut has positive reviews. People are really liking it. And that's good. That's nice. But we're not looking at this movie the same way we would have if it had been released in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, it would have been a 2.5 hour cut. And if it was like BVS, it would have been a horribly added, convoluted mess. It just would have been awful because they would have taken out the important stuff and left the sequel bait crap like the nightmare scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not looking at it as the future of the DCEU.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're revisiting it as an era that's over. So there's no pressure. Yeah. Like, people are talking about how they're viewing it as an Elseworld story, and that's great. But in 2017, this was the future of DC movies, not looking back on the past. So
different context.
There's less pressure on the Snyder Cut in 2021 than there would have been in 2017.
Yeah. Yeah.
And finally,
I had a thought, and I you can bring up the final thing and then remind me. I had a thought that I kind of wanted to know what you thought about this, because I don't I'll get to that after this final point.
Okay. And finally, by the time they would get a sequel, Man of Steel will be over 10 years old. And when you get to that 10-year mark, it's time to say, you know what? This iteration has run its course, and it's time to think about rebooting either way. So, I mean, Marvel will have to realize that soon. Eventually, everything has to come to an end. Like, even Smallville, right? I love Smallville. But it was time to move on from Smallville and do Superman and Lois. So, yeah, there's that. That was my final point. So, what were you going to say?
So I guess to explain the angle, I guess my overall question is, to what extent do you think that fans are or I wouldn't even necessarily, just anyone who saw the original, saw the Snyder Cut, and are just like, this is way better. The original sucked, and the Snyder Cut is incredible. Joss Whedon completely ruined that, and it was all bad, and this is how it should have been to begin with. How much of that is, like you said, the different expectations, the different context of now, and people maybe misremembering what the first one was really like, for lack of a better way to put it. I guess in my analog to this in what I've experienced is before The Last Jedi became something that I had to like quietly like amongst a sea of people who hate it and think it's the worst thing that has ever happened. Before that, in 2016, there was this video game called No Man's Sky. And when that was, yes, it was very hyped. It was like a sci-fi space game exploration thing that was very hyped. And when it came out, I was very excited. And when it came out, I played it and I loved it. From day one, I thought it was a great game. However, within the first week, when more and more people started to play it, I cannot stress enough, this game was the most deplored and hated video game you could possibly imagine.
Wow.
People were like death threats to the company that made it and stuff. It was, people hated it. I even at the time made a post on Reddit where I said, guys, this game is not that bad. I think you had your expectations way too high. I think you were expecting something and you were just wrong about what you were expecting. And it was like downvoted, and someone commented to me, you're everything that's wrong with the video game industry. This is why we keep getting crap like this. And I just was like, I have to step out of this. I'm just going to ignore the internet. I can't look at people's opinions on this game anymore. Cut to a year or two later, the game continued to get updates, and there's this huge update where they're just like, hey, everybody, come back and play No Man's Sky again. It's basically like, here's the Snyder Cut of No Man's Sky. It was a new, refreshed thing. Like, you have this game, we updated it. It's super different now. It's what you expected to begin with. We heard your complaints. Here it is. And I went back, and I would say that overall the game has improved. They had more time to work on it. Everyone is saying like this game is revered and has won awards now. It has
wow.
People are like saying like, game companies should look up to you. It's incredible what you did. You kept working on it. You didn't just take our money and run. You've turned this awful game into something great. That's kind of the attitude that a lot of people have. And I'm sitting here. I had to explain all that because this is such a niche thing.
Yes.
I'm sitting here going, it's not that different. The game is a little better because they had a little more time to work on it and add some stuff. But overall, it's a space exploration game where you explore planets, and that's kind of what it's been to. It was that from the beginning. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, did people just want something to hate? Was it the context of when the game originally came out and the high expectations? And now the stakes are lower because, like, they got it on sale and they're finally coming at it. Like, the narrative changed. The narrative now is, if you come and play this game used to be awful. And now when you play it, this company clearly cares and they're improving on it slowly. So when you come into it, it's like, you're coming into it with a more positive attitude than people coming into it with like this hyped game that turned out to not be that good. But the new version of that game isn't that different than the original. And that's what I put my foot down. I say that it's not that different.
Yes.
It's more the context that you're playing it in. How much of that is in Justice League? Because how different really is this that you can say that it's amazing and you used to say it was terrible?
Yeah, because most of the theatrical cut is in here. And a lot of stuff, a lot of people are pointing out that a lot of people who trashed on certain scenes, saying, "Look at this Whedon crap," when they found out it was Snyder are praising it.
Yes. Yeah.
I think like there's a couple things. One is that if you were a fan of Man of Steel and BVS and you like love those movies, the theatrical cut just doesn't match what it is. Like the Snyder cut, it feels more like a continuation versus the theatrical feels like a retcon.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think maybe for some people, I think the problem that Justice League, the theatrical cut had was it wasn't what fans who liked it, which there weren't a lot of. Let's just be honest, there weren't a lot of.
Yeah, definitely.
It was different from what they wanted. And for other people who didn't like it, it was too late. Like the damage had been done.
Yeah.
And I just think maybe it's because it fits in more with the style that Snyder established that people liked it.
Yeah.
I think that's what's making them look at it better.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's not like there wasn't going to be, it's not like Snyder got fired after BVS and there wasn't a Justice League movie. They were promised a Justice League movie directed by Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different for us. But just for a little context, how often do we talk about Spider-Man 4 on here? Like we were promised Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, for sure.
And to this, even though like Spider-Verse, the influence from Sam Raimi has kind of closed that hole a little bit, there's still like we were promised Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, we definitely still feel that today.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is that maybe Snyder fans just didn't get closure. Like it a way was retconned and rebooted.
Yeah.
But now it's like, all right, we got it. And now you know. It's weird too, because it feels the least like Snyder, this Justice League movie. Like BVS feels like very Zack Snyder, very similar to Watchmen. And this one feels the least like it, but maybe that was just part of the plan. But I think a lot of it is like they were promised one thing, they didn't get it. And for a lot of people, it's too little, too late, even though the theatrical cut did get better reviews than Batman versus Superman.
True. Yeah. Well, yeah, that I was just I'm always curious about the psyche of the comment section. You look at the comment sections and the psyche. I try to understand that more. And as a bit of an outsider to like hardcore DC fandom, especially like I don't think I've ever really met anyone who's like super into like Snyder DC movies specifically. Seems like a weird niche to me, but I know that the like apparently, and with the way that this Justice League is received too, there's this particular reaction, and I know how fan bases are in general, so it's better. I'm glad to understand that a little better. So
yes. All right, so here's just a random question to ask. I guess it's a little rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But it kind of deals with the Snyderverse. Now, we saw those stupid nightmare scenes, right?
Yes.
Now, in there, Superman is going to turn evil and crap. And we know in the third one, Batman was supposed to die. And eventually, Clark and Lois's son would become the new Batman because he has no powers, which is such a stupid idea, but whatever. Now, when you think about it, that was the plan for Justice League 2 and 3. But yet, we were going to have The Batman, which was going to be a trilogy happening alongside those movies, including one where Batman died. And when did Wonder Woman 84 get in development? No, let's see. All right, so in June 2017, they started working on a Wonder Woman sequel before Justice League, which contradicted Snyder's plan.
Right.
So part of me has to ask, was there ever really a DCEU? Or was it planned that these are all kind of separate continuities? Because what they were going to do with Ben Affleck's Batman was completely like, he's dead in the Justice League movie, but he's alive in the Batman 2. Like,
right.
Was there ever really a DC extended universe, or was it just the characters are off on their own and we reuse the same actors?
Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder if like production on stuff takes a long time. It kind of makes me wonder if like early on in planning this, like with Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel, and then in the works of planning a Wonder Woman movie, that they had some it makes me wonder if people started to expect an enormous amount of continuity and a cinematic universe kind of thing just because Marvel was taking off so much. The Avengers came out in 2012, and then it was like, okay, we're fully in this fully cohesive extended universe where it's all the same canon, same universe, the whole shebang. But you raise a good point that that could have never actually been the plan to begin with, and maybe they tried to pivot to that at some point. But if that wasn't the plan to begin with, I could see how it would get muddled. How it starts to be that you're producing movies and there isn't necessarily a plan to make this work with the other ones.
Yeah, part of me thinks that, when you look at the last, let's look at the last 2 years of DC movies. We had Birds of Prey, Joker, Wonder Woman 84, Snyder Cut. Really, none of them really go together. But yet, maybe that was what the DCEU was going to be the whole time. Just stand alone, and we'll reuse some of the actors you like.
Yeah. Yeah. It could seem that way now.
Here's the big question to ask. And I'm trying to save it for the end, for close to the end, but it does need to be asked. It's hard to but it just needs to be asked. Which version do you prefer? Do you prefer the theatrical 2017 cut or the 2021 Snyder cut? I don't know who you want to go first, but I guess I can ask you, which one do you prefer?
I don't, like I said, I'm still forming my thoughts on this, but I think I would have to say I like the Snyder cut more. I think they had more time to work on it, which is good.
Yeah, it's not like when they had to get that November 2017 release date because Kevin Sujihara needed his bonus.
Yeah, and the narrative is a billion times stronger in it. But again, I think that's just having more time, having more room to make a better edit. It was just overall more cohesive. I think that I wish I could say that more enthusiastically, I guess, is all. Because my view of the theatrical cut, I think, kind of sank over time, where I just kind of looked back and didn't like some things about it. And this removed a lot of that, but then it added things I didn't like. So it is this weird off balance. But overall, I do prefer the Snyder cut, I'm pretty sure.
All right. Now for me, so I had a different opinion when I first watched it.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I preferred the Snyder Cut because there's more cool stuff in there. I think that obviously most of the theatrical cut is in the Snyder Cut, but
yeah,
I thought a lot of the best stuff from the Snyder Cut or from the theatrical cut was from the Snyder Cut. I thought it improved a lot on stuff, but there are two things that make me prefer the theatrical cut. One is that it's not as dragged out. Mm-hmm. Like when I watched the Justice League theatrical cut, I'm like, yeah. Versus when I watched the Snyder cut, I was like, all right, let's get moving. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing for me is that this is Justice League. And for me, Superman in the theatrical cut was far superior than the one we had in this one. So Superman almost alone makes the theatrical cut, in my opinion, better, even though they both have their pros and cons.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Now we're doing this new segment called If You Like This, We'll Recommend Some Stuff. So
sure.
Do you have anything to recommend for people if they liked Zack Snyder's Justice League that you feel they should check out?
I mean, I guess the most obvious thing that comes to mind that I mean, Watchmen is good. I think to me that
was one thing I said.
Yeah, to me that's the better, like to me that's peak Snyder. Not that I'm like a big Snyder as a director like fan that I flock to see his movies or something, but knowing that that's also by him and that I really enjoyed that movie back when I saw that, I feel like if you really like the Snyder Cut, there's probably a reason for that, and you're probably going to be looking for one of his other good movies. But I mean, I guess I would say if you liked the runtime, if that was fun for you to watch a 4-hour movie, definitely watch the Lord of the Rings extended versions. But that's for the niche amount of people who are like, I think I want to watch another 4-hour movie.
Oh yes. Oh, I would love another 4-hour. You know what was nice is that with this movie, we were kind of getting like 2 Justice League movies, basically.
Yeah, lengthwise.
All right, now for me, let me bring up some stuff I'd recommend, because if you are a fan of the Snyder Cut, the 2 comics I felt the most influence from was Justice League Volume 1 Origin by Jeff Johns and Jim Lee. What a great team that is. You know, best writer in comics right now, best artist in comics right now together. You can't ask for better than that. Yeah. And so this is when DC did their reboot 10 years ago, which feels weird to say, but it was 10 years ago they did this reboot, and this is the story of them coming together to face Darkseid. Luckily not Steppenwolf, but you got Darkseid right there. The other storyline is Reign of the Superman. This is the storyline in which Superman comes back from the dead. So this was his return.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike the Snyder Cut where he fights Steppenwolf, he goes after that evil robot Superman is trying to take his place. It's awesome. I love it. It's great. So yeah. Now, if you want to watch something, may I recommend the DC animated movie universe that ran from 2014 to 2020 that began with Justice League War. And if you watch those movies, you're basically getting what the Snyder plan was, because they were happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting the formation of the Justice League, the death of Superman, the return of Superman, And you are also getting Darkseid Apocalypse, or Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, the finale to this universe, which has a pretty similar plot to what the Snyder sequels were going to be, where Darkseid is taking over the Earth and it's the heroes in one last hurrah.
Yeah.
When this movie came out, I binged all. It's over 10 movies, but I watched them all, and I was like, you know what? Awesome. God, DC movie universe. So
Yeah.
I really believe, like, if you liked those movies, start with Justice League War. Some people will say you have to start with Flashpoint, but that's really only the post-credit scene. So this one is the one you jump in on. Although you should all watch Flashpoint because it's great. It's awesome. I love it. It's got Kevin Conroy. What more could you ask? So, yeah, check those out if you want to have another DC universe. And also, why not the DC animated universe and the Arrowverse while you're at it?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, we've established that, look, the Snyder Cut, Warner Brothers has said the Snyderverse is done. We both said don't go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But what can the filmmakers take from this movie for future movies?
Right.
What worked in here that they could take next time they take a crack at a Justice League movie? Which, if we find out Superman and Wonder Woman are in the Flash with Batman, that's good enough. I consider that Justice League. It's like Civil War being Avengers 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anything come to mind about what they could take from the Snyder Cut?
Yeah, I have to get back in gear to the positive stuff we were saying. It feels so long ago, but I did.
Oh yes,
most positive things about it. I definitely think that really delving into each of the characters, I think, is a good idea. So it feels like not just like the characters each have their own emotional impacts individually. I don't know that you need to spend as much time if it were just a movie on each character, but I do think that, like, you have Flash and his dad, Cyborg and his dad, Batman and Superman and their lack of a dad. That's not really it's not really the crux of this movie, but I do think that
technically Wonder Woman's never met her dad. He's a deadbeat. Zeus, what a jerk.
God Zeus. God Zeus.
Oh yes.
And they're very, like, distinct personalities. That's definitely something that should always be taken into an ensemble sort of story like that. I don't know. I'll try and think of some other recommendations of what to take in. But what are some things that from you?
Well, for me, you pretty much just said, "Whoa!" It went back to the old gallery view. What is going on? Oh, now it's not full screen. It's back. But okay. So for me, one thing is make sure that you have the characters different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Do Justice League. Don't do Batman versus Superman. Make sure, like, Batman, we know his personality. We know who Flash is. We know who Wonder Woman is. We know who Cyborg is.
Yeah.
And that's important. And that makes it so it's more fun when the characters cross over.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is, just like we had in Superman and Lois, whatever you think about Zack Snyder's contributions to the DC universe, he really raised the bar with action scenes.
Yes.
So
I was trying to
keep up with that.
I was trying to think of a way to put that, like, without just saying, like, keep up the cool action scenes. But that really is one of the biggest things I think that they should maintain.
Yes, like the scenes in there look so great. Keep it up with great visuals.
Yeah.
All right. So here is one last point before our final thoughts. It's a little bit of a point. It's a little mini news story that maybe we should bring up real quick.
Okay.
Now, Michael Keaton recently talked about now this Flash movie, the most important movie at building a DC cinematic universe since Batman versus Superman. Michael Keaton talked about how because of COVID and everything, he doesn't know if he'll actually be in the Flash movie because he doesn't want to risk his life. And honestly, that's a good point. If COVID is that bad, I'd rather have Keaton in Batman Beyond and save it for later.
Yeah, please, for sure.
Yes. So now the Flash is supposed to film next month. Where do you think this puts the Flash movie in terms of, do you think it will go on without Michael Keaton? What could they do? Because remember, this movie is the first one since BVS to build a cinematic universe.
Yeah. I was gonna say that I don't necessarily think that like having Michael Keaton in it is the most important thing, like to just go on and do it without him.
But it is a Batman Flash crossover.
And that's exactly, I was starting to remember all of the things we talked about of like the potential, what he could be in to that movie. And that would be that would be tough. I mean, with good writing, it's a bummer, but maybe you could do the same story with a different actor. But I guess I don't know. It just seems like something where I'm okay with the idea of them going ahead and doing it anyway, but only because it's not as important as like not letting people feel I don't want anyone to like feel uncomfortable with I don't know if the options are making it or without him or not making it at all, I don't see any reason why it can't still be good without him. It's just a real bummer.
All right. Now, I really like this idea of what they're going to try and do about, trying to trying to bridge the worlds of DC with the Tim Burton era. And I was thinking, people will probably be a little disappointed. It wouldn't be exactly the same, but it did get me thinking, in the DCEU, Ben Affleck is our main Batman. And technically that means that in the DCEU multiverse, they're all alternate versions of Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm.
So it did get me thinking, that Batman, even though Keaton played him the most, has already been recast twice.
Yeah.
If you have the suit, a suit that looks like Keaton's, it's black, it's got the long ears, the yellow emblem, the Tim Burton Batmobile, the Danny Elfman music.
Mm-hmm.
If it's already been played by Keaton and Kilmer and Clooney, why not have Affleck be the fourth one? Why not have him also play the Tim Burton Batman?
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're kind of getting at part of what I was saying, which is like you could just recast, like have someone else play that role. It's a good idea for a role. You could have someone else do it. It's a bummer, but you could.
And it's been done before twice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great point.
So would you want them, because I'll be honest, I would like them to do that. Would you want them to basically have Affleck play the Tim Burton version, or would you want maybe just an alternate version? Or I would love to see Affleck in a Keaton type suit with the Danny Elfman theme.
That seems really cool. My first instinct was someone totally new who would just like do a really good job playing that role. The person who they think would best play that role, basically. But I don't know. It would kind of feel like that sort of mentor role that it was starting to, that it would maybe be the closest thing we would get to a continuation from this Justice League, but I don't know. I think my hesitation is that it would maybe be confusing, and that I would maybe lean towards getting someone different. But I do think I'm tempted. I'm tempted to say yes.
Do you think the Flash movie will happen, or will they just probably delay it again? I'm to the point of until it starts filming, I don't believe it.
Yeah, I think it's going to get delayed again for sure.
All right. Important one for DCEU. Do you think Superman, Wonder Woman will be in it? I mean, I feel like we got asked this a lot, but it is a big movie in terms of DCEU. Do you think Superman, Wonder Woman will be in it? Because we know Supergirl will be in it.
I'll say no to both, but a stronger no to Superman.
Really? You think Wonder Woman is a better shot than Superman?
I don't know. I suppose I don't know. I guess I was just going off of the fact of how done we've been talking about that, like, people are with Superman. That's what I'm going off of. But in terms of like the willingness of the actors or contracts and stuff, I don't know. It just feels like people are more done with Superman.
Like, I think if Superman's in it, it won't be Henry Cavill.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I think because, look, what this Flash movie is trying to do is not only trying to unite. It's not only trying to bring back a DC cinematic universe. It's also trying to create a bridge together the legacy of DC, which is why they want to get Keaton Batman. Or, if they're up to me, if Keaton can't do it, let's just put Affleck in that suit. Yeah. So I don't think if Superman's in it, I don't think it'll be Henry Cavill. I think they will do something to try to bridge another part of the multiverse. I think it'll be Brandon Routh.
Interesting. Yes.
So between the two, look, Brandon Routh was, in a special that had Tom Welling, Kevin Conroy, easily Brandon Routh was everyone's favorite guest star. And it made a lot of people kind of change their mind because he was able to put his own stamp on the character instead of just following a bad remake of a Christopher Reeve movie.
Right.
If it comes down to it, who do you think would play Superman in The Flash? I think it'll be Brandon Routh. Which one do you think is more likely? Henry Cavill, Brandon Routh, or an unknown?
Probably Brandon Routh. That seems the most logical, especially since they were like, considering Keaton.
Yes.
So
and he is the Christopher Reeve Superman. So it would, since Christopher Reeve isn't here anymore, it would be able to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
All right, guys, there we go with our special on the Snyder Cut. Looks like it's
did
been
we
a
actually
while.
get there? Wow, we're actually at the end.
We are.
Yeah.
So let us give our final thoughts on the Snyder Cut. I guess I can go first with, the Snyder Cut, Justice League we thought was going to, be part of the beginning of the DCEU. But this Snyder Cut is such a wonderful ending to the Zack Snyder era of DC films. And when you look at it, Snyder got his trilogy. Every storyline is wrapped up. And more importantly, maybe like the best type of ending you can have, fans who checked it out are really enjoying it. It's got 71% on Rotten Tomatoes, last I checked. For a franchise that, had arguably the most hated superhero movie in BVS, to go out with everything's tied up, it's the end of a trilogy, and it's going out with successful reviews. It's bringing closure both for Zack Snyder personally, everyone involved in the film personally, and to fans of this incarnation of the DC universe.
Yeah.
It is a perfect conclusion.
Yeah. I guess for my thoughts, I also think it really feels like a good closing chapter. I think that it really gave the story a lot of time to breathe, and it brought out a lot that was good about this narrative to begin with the caveat that maybe too much was added and that it added things that were maybe not ultimately necessary to add. But overall, I thought that the Snyder Cut was worth existing, which is not something I was not one of the people asking for it. This almost sounds like a different slogan that we do.
Yes.
I was not one of the people asking for the Snyder Cut. I didn't think there was that much to add, but here we are. I think it was worth it. I think it was worth creating.
Yes. In the end, I think it was worth putting it together, giving us another addition to the DC film library. Yes. All right, guys, there we go with our special for the Snyder Cut. What a ride it's been. We are saying goodbye to you all now. And just always remember that whether it's the theatrical version or an extended version of Falling Down, you keep falling down that rabbit hole.